It's crazy to think that the last Dance Dance Revolution game that came out in America was back in 2011. And obviously, that IP has been irrelevant for a very long time, at least in the States. It's still big in Japan, but yeah, I mean, Konami is trying to revive older IPs like Castlevania. Um, I'm pretty sure like a lot of people would love to see Dance Dance Revolution make a return in the States, but that's something that's not up to me or, anybody in the gaming community. That's solely a Konami decision. And the reason why I'm bringing up Dance Dance Revolution is because I know it was hot back in the 2000s and it faded in popularity after like the early teens. And I think a lot of like the reason why it faded in popularity is because you had other music rhythm IPs, become more and more popular, like Guitar Hero, Rock Band, Just Dance, which I still think is going on today. Um, yeah, a lot of those franchises seemingly um, overshadowed DDR in popularity as time went by, and it seemed like I don't know, towards like the early teens, like DDR was pretty much a shell of itself. And and I don't know, like I think like they still do DDR games in arcade centers in Japan. I think the last one came out back in 2024. But I listened to some of the music and it's not that great. It's not on par to like some of the stuff that we got back in like the early 2000s. A lot of people feel like Dance Dance Revolution Extreme from like '02 was probably the best entry in the series, and pretty much everything else that came like right before and right after it up until like 2010 was like epic. I feel like for the most part, Konami should try to revive DDR if they think they can make it work. And the reason I say that is because the gaming market nowadays is a little bit more tricky in comparison to, back in the day, like 20 years ago. Um, Nowadays, like a lot of video game developers, when they do anything online related, they focus more on monetization and stuff like that because that's how they make their money. And I feel like if Konami ever brought back DDR in the States and then they tried to rely heavily on monetization, it could lead to pushback. And it's probably the reason why it wouldn't work. Also, like more people nowadays are PC gamers in comparison to, I guess, the 2000s, because like I guess PC has its limitations while you play like a music rhythm game on a PlayStation or Xbox console. There's immersion because of the dance pads that you can buy with the consoles as accessories. But but yeah, I remember back in the day, like, DDR was addictive. It was fun. It was very arcade like, and playing it at the arcade center was way more fun than playing it at home. And and I don't know, I just feel like the music rhythm genre nowadays is just, I wouldn't say it's completely dead, but DDR was like the granddaddy of the music rhythm genre, and to know that it's like completely irrelevant in the states in this day and age is kind of sad and heartbreaking. But I do feel like a reboot or a revival is something that would catch a lot of people's attention. It's something that would trend on like social media, on X or what have you. But it really depends on what kind of artists you can get, and whether or not you can afford to license certain music, because I know like nowadays the cost of gaming is more expensive than ever, and I can only imagine what like how much it would cost to license like a modern day song. And even if you try to license like modern day music, it's like mainstream radio music is not as good as it was like 15 or 20 years ago, so people probably wouldn't want to play it anyways. But if they decide to go with like indie artists and stuff like that, it would give them a nice, platform to shine on. But I don't know. These are all hypotheticals. I don't know if Konami's ever going to consider bringing back Dance Dance Revolution. A reboot would definitely be nice. It'd be something that a lot of people would love to see. And in theory, it sounds like, it would be money, but in practice, it could be disastrous if not executed properly.